Hey guys, it's Marla. Thanks for joining me today to have a little chat about the Sagittarius full moon lunar eclipse that's happening on May 26th. And we'll touch a little bit on Mercury retrograde probably as well. Mercury is going retrograde on the 29th. So let's kind of get into it here. So the full moon is going to be at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. The moon is going to be conjunct the south node. So, as you know, when we have a planet conjunct the south node, we're releasing something. And the moon is probably the most important planet when we're talking about needing to release something, because the moon represents all our patterns, our emotional patterns, what we do that makes us feel secure, our beliefs that make us feel secure. And that's really very important when the moon is in Sagittarius, because Sagittarius represents our beliefs. And I feel like a release of the old way of being is so important for this time period, and especially for twin flames. Many of you guys are in the process of surrendering another level. So if you've been going through triggers and things, it's okay. It's part of this process because, as I talked about in my last video, or not my last, but my activation for the 144 video, this is an important time and shift for twins. And, twin flames are really at the forefront of the ascension process and shifting the planetary energies. And with the stuff that's coming in, um, we're really being elevated right now. Our vibration is being elevated. We're being activated by higher frequencies. Last week, I was feeling a lot of solar energies coming in and shifting us. So you might be going through that as well. But yeah, I'm digressing as always because we were talking about the moon in Sag being conjunct the South Node. So the moon and the South Node, they have a lot in common because the moon as well, seeing that it's so connected to our patterns, it's very connected to our past lives. Also, the moon rules our fourth house, which is very much connected to all our different incarnations. So, what I'm getting right now is that karma and the release of karma is also something that's very prevalent for everybody right now. And this is especially affecting our masculine side, as you know. And the masculine is going through a big shift. We'll talk about that more in a minute. But if we stick with, our belief systems, that sometimes is connected to our masculine side, because our masculine wants to have a sense of safety and security as well. If we think about the masculine energy as being like a warrior energy, and a warrior wants to fight for a belief, and we too carry that sense that we want to fight for a particular belief. But you see that so much in the world where everybody's polarized. And that has a lot to do with what's going on, because as twins and as light workers, we're trying to take that deep sense of polarity and balance it out, just like we balance out our masculine and feminine. And I did a video called um, political divisiveness. I can't remember the title right now, but I'll link it here. Is just like the twin flame journey, because we have to take this sense of duality and find a balance, find a sense of commonality with each other. And that's a big part of this moon, because while the moon's in Sag, the sun's in Gemini. And so the sun in Gemini is about understanding duality. Remember, Gemini is the sign of twins, and Gemini, because um, because it's curious, because it wants to know things. It wants to understand both sides of an issue. That's where the twin comes in. It's like the dark and the light, and understanding those two polarities. And what we have here is a search for truth. And we carry these belief systems from our deep soul past, and they're not always based on truth. Very often they're based on problems and trauma that we've faced. And sometimes those belief systems are faulty. So we're looking to balance this energy out with the Gemini side, illuminating our Gemini side, to seeing if maybe some of our belief systems need to be updated. Maybe we need to see things from a different perspective. And also, we need to work with understanding the other person that holds the opposite side. Because very often, truth is found somewhere in the middle. It's not found in the extremes. And to that energy right there is we have Jupiter squaring the nodes at 1 degree 11 minutes of Pisces. Jupiter's the ruler of this moon, and Jupiter is the planet of truth. And I feel like with that square, especially at 111, it's telling us like there's a wake up call here to find truth, to be open to truth. And sometimes we get so caught up, so stuck in our belief systems that we can't really see the truth. So, really, what we're doing, and it's not about, saying everything that you believe is wrong, but it's about continuing to expand our consciousness by elevating our vibration and seeing things from a higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher perspective, right? We're climbing to the 5D and beyond. And in the 5D, we go into that state of oneness, to unity, to a deep sense of compassion as well. When someone else, in the 5D, we have to remember that even though we're taking this higher perspective, right, we're still here in a physical body. And that's another way that we're trying to balance. So, yeah, we can continually elevate, but we're always going to be living in the sense of duality as well. But it's about opening our mind and being able to have a conversation with those on the other side, and being open to discovering where, hey, maybe I can see a higher perspective with this, or maybe I can help you see a higher perspective of your beliefs by listening to me and seeing a different way of being. But if we're completely polarized, if we can't communicate with each other, then that conversation can't be had, and we can never find that truth. Hence that square to Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter is the co-ruler of Pisces, the ancient ruler. And I think what I'm getting in that sign and on that degree, it's like deep spiritual truths are there to be had. And as we balance out, what I just mentioned, the 3D and the 5D, and elevating our consciousness, we have to release holding on so much to the 3D, to the material world. And that's when we're going to find that truth really resides in the spiritual world. So let's talk about some of the Sabians first. So the Sabian for the moon is a game of cricket. And what I'm getting with this one is, with the game of cricket, and I'm not saying that game in particular, but when you're playing a game or you're playing sport, right, there's rules. And you have to play by the rules. And I feel like that's pertaining to what's happening on a collective level right now, because it's very much there's a lot of pressure on everybody to play by society's rules, or at this point, it's not even society rules, but it's more of like a mob rules right now. And if you're going against the mob, then you're not playing by the rules and you're going to get canceled. You're going to get criticized. You're going to get labeled. And this is important because one of the major things we're doing right now, coming through these eclipses, is opening up our authentic self. And it's taken us a long time to get to this place where we're more and more open in who we are. At the same time, the collective energies is putting more and more and more pressure to not be that authentic self, but to be part of a group. Great. Another way that we're really balancing. And as light workers, we didn't come here to just be part of the group, but we came here to be leaders and to stand out. And so part of that is perhaps getting triggered around some of this kind of what can feel like persecution. In some cases, it really is persecution. In other cases, it just might feel like it, or it might trigger that karmic feeling of persecution, which is very much that moon south node energy. The Sabian symbol for the sun is drilling for oil, or sorry, workmen drilling for oil. And this is telling us to go deep, go under the surface. When we're drilling for oil, we have to go down, down, down into the earth. So that can be you going down inside of yourself, but also I feel like that wisdom that we have has been buried, but it's coming to the surface. And it's like that truth is coming to the surface. Let's see what Jupiter's Sabian is. A squirrel hiding from hunters. Hiding oneself away, caution and reserve. Things or people that feel tiny, uncertain, or insecure, staying out of people's way, people picking on each other, being bullied out of what you deserve, giving those out there more power than they warrant, not trusting life, paranoia, running away from things, not wanting to go out and socialize, threats of terrorism, agoraphobia. You guys get the hint of what that Sabian is, right? Because that Sabian is about hiding yourself. But Jupiter's there. Remember, Jupiter's expansion, and the pressure is on right now not to hide yourself. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, this is affecting our masculine side, the masculine in all of us, to be free, to let down the guard, to be able to be vulnerable. Because when it comes to that authenticity, it's the fear that our masculine side has that it's going to be rejected, it's going to get called out, it's going to show weakness. It's really kind of the core wound there. But I'm seeing the masculine. Well, first of all, like we can expect more kind of triggering and activation around our masculine side because Mars is in an opposition to Pluto. And between the two eclipses, we're having a Mars Pluto opposition. So that's going within, that's looking at the shadow, going deeper into some of these karmic patterns, and really like what is limiting us. Remember, Mars is our drive, it's our action, it is our masculine energy itself. And the masculine more and more is preparing to take that risk, to jump, and it's just needing to go in and clear a few things, refine a few things with Pluto. And actually, Pluto is the higher octave of Mars. It is more of that divine masculine energy. So I feel like those two are really going to be working in tandem. Mars has to do with our power as well. And Mars and Pluto. Pluto more, but Mars as well. Power is another thing that's going to be coming up. But yeah, through that shift and that clearing, the masculines really going to be prepared after these eclipses, I feel, to jump off into something new. Whoops. One thing that is going to be affected too with these change in the masculine energy is relationships. And as I've talked about before, we have Union and Jupiter in a conjunction. I talked about those being together pretty much all year in my 4 asteroids aspects for 2021, which I'll link below in the description if you haven't seen that one. And that's opposing Venus coming into this eclipse. And what I'm getting is that there's a release of energy around karmic partners. Now, I remember in that video I talked about when I first saw that aspect, especially with it being focused very strongly on the South Node for a lot of this year, that it was going to represent a lot of the karmic stuff. But then my guide said, no, it's really more about the twin journey. But I am getting at this shift. Karmic partners, if that's still happening, is playing a role here. And I feel like it's about figuring out like what it is you really want. Some of you are going to have your inner masculine is still dealing with a trauma pattern around codependency. And there's a trauma pattern called fawning, which is basically like being a people pleaser and that sort of thing. So if your masculine has that signature and has been doing that with a karmic partner, that may reach some kind of head, especially with the Mars Pluto energy there. And again, like right before that eclipse, Mars is going to be making an in conjunction to Juno and Union, and it's going into an opposition with Venus. But yeah, that codependency, there's something that's beginning to really shift in that area. Now, the Sabian for Juno and Union, which are on the same degree, is pelicans disturbed by the garbage of people move their young to a new habitat. So to me, this really speaks about, if there's things around you that aren't serving you anymore, the garbage, you have to move away from that into something new. And, this is something that's been happening with the masculine for a long time. Has the the issue with the karmic partners, yes, there's attachments to the actual twin flame and the person, but you guys have to remember that this is a collective movement, and the shift is going to happen on a collective level. I work with so many twins and they get so frustrated with the karmic partners and feeling like their twin is just stuck. But if you look at the bigger picture, there's this collective energy here. And what I'm getting is like this foundation is beginning to crack. And I'm seeing like shifting of tectonic plates around this energy. And it feels like things are beginning to come to a head with that. It'll continue to play out, of course, but everybody is on a different level as well. Even though it is a collective, it won't shift all at once, but we're trying to build a momentum, build a big energy around it. So, going with that energy of truth and awakening that I mentioned with the Jupiter square, Pallas Athena and Neptune are also making an exact conjunction on the 22nd degree of Pisces, and that is making a trine with Mars. And so this can affect everybody. It can be a third eye activation, but perhaps we'll see this affecting our masculine side more because it's making that trine to Mars. Also, going with the theme of the divine masculine here, we have the asteroid Osiris, which has been traveling with Horus since the beginning of the year. Again, I talked about this in my video about the asteroid aspects for 2021. Well, Osiris, which represents divine masculine energy, is on the Sabian symbol, a serpent coiling near a man and a woman. And if you've been following me for a while, this is my favorite Sabian. I talk about it a lot when planets connect here, and it's very much related to twin flames. It's reminiscent of Adam and Eve, of course, but if we look at Adam and Eve as being a story about awakening, right? Because what they receive from the serpent is actually knowledge. And the serpent here represents Kundalini, the Kundalini activation, the awakening, and the wisdom that comes with Kundalini, and how that awakens the divine masculine and feminine, and is a part of sacred union and sacred sexuality. So for Osiris to be there, I feel is yet another message, symbol of the shifts happening with our masculine. So as I said, Mercury's going retrograde too. Let me pull up that chart. On May 29th. Mercury's the ruler of Gemini, and so the ruler where the sun is right now. The Gemini energy is going to be very strong. And like I said, it's helping us see past some of our belief systems into a deeper truth and understanding of duality so that we can bring those two sides into balance, into harmony. And with Mercury going retrograde, that's really going to be playing a part in helping us understand these things and heightening our perspective. He will be conjunct Venus and squaring Neptune when he goes retrograde too, which also speaks about awakening and higher consciousness and harmony. And really, we need to find harmony with our heart and our mind and help elevate that energy of Mercury away from the very mental energy, but more into the spiritual energy. And we relate Mercury so much to the mental energy and to intellect in modern astrology. But remember, Mercury is a god, and Mercury is the only god that can move between the world and the underworld. And even though the underworld, right, maybe we think of it in more of a negative terms, but there's also that spiritual energy connected there because it represents, when people pass away, when they're on the other side of the veil. So really, Mercury can have a very high spiritual mental awareness that we need to bring in more and more. And I think the energy of Venus Neptune is going to help. Of course, that could also be triggering relationships from the past, whether it's coming up as something within you to look at, or whether it actually brings someone back from the past. But Venus and Neptune, when they come together, they really want harmony and balance, and their focus is on unconditional love and compassion. And so around this eclipse, we might really be feeling that energy, which will help us balance out the issues with duality. Of course, these things are not overnight shifts, but the full moons and the new moons, the eclipses just having more impact, what they do is they set off activations. They set off like little charges, and then they help us begin to shift and focus on that energy over time. So Mercury goes direct on the 22nd, a couple days after the summer solstice. And that summer solstice will be important for twins and Mercury as well, because Mercury retrograde is a great opportunity for us to go in and look at what we've been thinking about. What have we been believing? Where have we been putting our mental focus? And are we limiting ourselves through our mental focus? And how can we expand it? So definitely Mercury is playing a role here. Let me see the Sabian for Mercury. Remember, Mercury's in his own sign too. So this is going to be a powerful retrograde, I think. Not going to put it out there that it's going to be a lot of issues, but I'm going to focus on it being something that's part of this big transformation we're going through. Okay, so yeah, his Sabian symbol for the retrograde is a gardener trimming large palm trees. So again, clearing away rubbish, getting rid of the dross. That which is dead and not serving anymore can be cut away. And with that, clarity. So I don't want to go too much into what, Mercury going direct, but I'm just going to touch on the Sabian for when Mercury goes direct, because I think it gives us insight into the retrograde itself. So that one is the head of a robust youth changes into that of a mature thinker. So this one as well is telling us that we're transforming and our thoughts are becoming not only clearer, but wiser. Like there's a new level of maturity. And we reach that level of maturity when we heal enough to be able to focus on that higher spiritual wisdom that I mentioned, rather than just focusing on what we can gain in the material world. So, I pulled some cards this morning when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today. And I just asked my guides, like, hey, what do I need to know about this eclipse? And I wanted to share the cards that I pulled because I think it will help you guys understand the eclipse more. The first card that I got was Twin Flame. So definitely that was a major theme, and I really wasn't expecting it, because I was expecting to tune in more to like what was going on with the collective. But obviously my guides wanted to bring my focus back to the twin flame energy and the important shifts and transformation that are happening with all of us. And as a clarifier, I got Ganesh. Yes. So some kind of block is being removed. And we know that this has a lot to do with the masculine energy and all the things that I've been talking about this year. Second card I got was Lu, Persistence. And I feel like this is so much about staying strong in who we are. Like we have to shine our light. Lu is the sun god, and we have to be that light and stay strong, even in the face of challenges, maybe even different types of that persecution that I mentioned that you might be facing. Because this was clarified with artistic expression. So, our voice, we need to be persistent in our voice and shining our light and becoming leaders. And then energy healing, Merlin. And this has an eclipse on it as well. So for twin flames, big healings happening. That's why I'm saying, like, if you're triggered by things right now, it's part of the process. Don't attach too much to it, but just accept where you're at. And energy healing is clarified with you can do it. Yes, we can change. And I always see this card of Archangel Michael. He's using his sword, and I always imagine that it's like cutting cords with the past, which is what we talked about in the beginning. When I asked, hey, what is it that we're not seeing right now for twins? I got first light at the breaking of the storm. So, my guides always give me this message, even though things can seem bleak with what's going on with the collective, and it can be so difficult to deal with the stress of having all these polarities surrounding us and negative energy. But we can't forget the focus here is on the ascension, and we are ascending. We are not stoppable. We have, reached that critical mass. Nothing that happens on this plane of an existence from anyone that wants to stop us can succeed right now. And the sun will always come out. I also got this one too, perseverance, hanging on the edge, which of course I thought right away of this one. It can seem like that you're hanging on the edge, but stay strong. When I asked about what was shifting for twins, first card I got was strength, followed by coercion, leaving behind, and courage. Defensive but daring, which I love. So yeah, again, strength is here telling us we have to persevere through this period of time, not even just the eclipses, but what I'm getting, the bigger message here is persevering through not only our personal transformation, but the transformation that's happening in the world. And we are leaving the past behind. And I feel like that really pertains to our masculine so perfectly, because we're getting ready to make that shift, to take that leap, to take that risk. What were the messages from higher self for twin flames? I'm awakening. I know more than I'm letting on. So, you can take that to be both twins, because we're all leveling up and raising our vibrations right now. Activations are happening. I care about you even when I act like I don't. I'm hiding my true feelings because I feel vulnerable. Definitely that shift point we're all working on. And as you surrender your 3D expectations, I surrender to our 5D connection. So, yeah, surrendering is so important right now, everybody. It's like the masculine part of us is surrendering more to the feminine part, not in a subservient way, but in a way that's very balanced, um, with trusting the unseen, trusting the intuition, trusting spirit to bring us everything that we need. For some of you, if you're someone that's struggling with surrender right now and maybe you're dealing with triggers, okay, this card is important for that energy, because if you're focused on the 3D, it's hard for your twin to explore the 5D. So you want to surrender, and when you do, or when you let go, is when you allow them to get more in touch with the 5D. It creates an activation when you let go of them. And that's why it's really important to go through that surrender process. And when you look at that surrender process through your 3D eyes and you're focused on the material, and you're going to feel like, oh, if I let go, it's going to be the end. This relationship is going to be lost. The person will forget about me. Um, all those kinds of fears that we have. But really, what happens when you let go is you activate your twin, and they can no longer, hide themselves in the 3D, but they have to begin to awaken. But it has to be in a balanced, connected state with each other. So thank you. Just a reminder, I do personal readings, astrology, and tarot. I also do past life regression sessions. My website is twinstrology.com if you want more information about me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do. And if you like the content of this video, please give me a thumbs up. And please leave a comment, because when you leave comments, that helps more people find me, helps YouTube share my videos more. So thank you. I appreciate that. For those that always leave me a comment, sorry about the lawnmower in the background. I'm sending you all so much love. Have a blessed full moon, everybody, and I will speak to you soon.